Yeah, thanks, Tim, and welcome to all attendees onto my presentation today to give an overview of our Central Yilgarn iron project in the Yilgarn region. Next slide, if you go through to past disclaimers, Tim. Yeah, thank you. So Juno has just been listed just over a year now, and we are actually spun out the assets out of Jupiter Mines, who I previously worked for in 2007 to 2013. And I looked after these two projects directly back then. We've recently welcomed David Moroney to the board as our chairman. David has a wealth of experience in the corporate and finance space and risk management. And also Patrick Murphy, he's the Managing Director of AMCI, who is a major shareholder of Juno, and also Mr. Lee, who is also represents POSCO on our board as a non-executive director. So with the in-specie distribution out of Jupiter, those two major companies maintain their shareholding within Juno, and we're very appreciative of that. And of course, our company secretary and CFO is Melissa North, who we did in conjunction did the IPO of Juno, and I share Melissa's time from Jupiter as well. So we aim to keep our overheads low in the medium term. So next slide, please, Tim. So a bit of a corporate snapshot: 136 million shares on issue. Market cap, as Tim said, around 17 million currently. Our top 10 shareholders, Nissan Bentley, who came over from a major shareholding in Jupiter, AMCI, that I've talked about, and POSCO, our major shareholders, and Tiger Hill Global Fund, who have joined us on the register after we listed, so they've accumulated shares as we've moved forward. Next slide, please, Tim. So investment highlights: we've got two projects in the Central Yilgarn. That is a Mount Mason DSO Hematite project. That is now already fully approved, ready to go, and there's existing rail and port infrastructure that is available to progress this project, and we're in discussions with ARC Infrastructure and Esperance Port currently. And we also have the Mount Ida Magnetite project, which is the largest magnetite project in the region. Over 1.85 billion tonnes, 29.5% iron. It upgrades to a 67% concentrate. And you know, it's already on a granted mining lease, and we've got significant supporting tenure in the region. Jupiter back end, we spent over $50 million on this project, so it is really well advanced in the technical front. So the value proposition, our Mount Mason DSO Hematite project is a near-term project, and we're looking to get that going in the Q3, in the June quarter next year. And in respect to the magnetite projects in the Yilgarn, we are significantly undervalued in comparison to those. Next slide, please, Tim. So where are we? So in a snapshot, we're about 110 k's northwest of the town of Menzies, which is north of Kalgoorlie, and we aim to start producing a 60% DSO fines from that project. As I said, that project's been fully approved. We've got all the approvals received in early April of this year. And our Mount Ida Magnetite project's about 6 kilometres away from our Mount Mason project, and that is really technically advanced. Although I have to say, our main focus since we've been listing is on our Mount Mason, getting our Mount Mason DSO project moving along. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So we've got a proven DSO mineral resource. One of the photos there you can see standing on the outcrop. We've already got an existing village there, our 40-man camp, which will need to be expanded to 100 men. There is a logistic supply chain where we can move to develop this project. And last year, we actually went out and tendered all the major contracts. So we're looking at a contracting strategy to keep all our capital costs low for startup. And we've also trimmed those contractors down to a preferred contractors. So next slide, please. So these are all the contract tenders that we actually went out for. We've got our preferred contractors on standby, so we'll look to reprice next month to get all updated pricing to go into our financial model with a view to progress the development of this project. As you see in the attached plan, there's a location of our the layout of our mine and mine operations centre and crushing. So next slide, please, Tim. So the logistics front, where our mine site is, we have to construct a new haul road about 28 kilometres down to the Menzies Northwest Road, or alternatively is called the Menzies Sandstone Road. And then there's a 120k haul to our Yunndaga rail siding site, which is about 5 kilometres south of Menzies. That Yunndaga rail site is fully approved, ready for development also. So the intent will be to haul DSO to that rail siding and load onto rail, which will travel from Menzies down through Kalgoorlie down to the Port of Esperance, so a total rail haul of about 500 kilometres. Next slide, please, Tim. So, and we see Yunndaga rail siding as a very important infrastructure for this project. It's 5 kilometres south of Menzies, 2.6 kilometres long, encompasses the Goldfield Highway and the railway track. So we'll be looking to develop that to get our project up and running, which will, so we'll have 120 kilometres of road haul and about 500 kilometres of rail haul. So it really keeps our haulage costs down, and that's already done in the Yilgarn as well for another iron ore operation that goes out through Esperance, those equivalent sort of distances, so it can be done. But I think also the future, when we develop our Mount Ida magnetite project, the intent would be to pump our concentrate to that rail siding, filter it, filtrate the water back to site for reuse. So we see this as a critical part of infrastructure within the region as well, and it's certainly important for us. Next slide, please, Tim. Now moving on to the Mount Ida magnetite project. A significant amount of work was done on this project in the past, $50 million worth of work. It's on a granted mining lease. We've got significant tenure for infrastructure location, and we've got all the all the water, nearby water in the prospective good quality water regions pegged, sewn up. So we've got all that locked up in the region. And more importantly, there is a lot more renewed interest in magnetite. Our neighbour, Legacy and Hawthorn, end of last year announced a joint venture earn-in with Hancock Atlas Iron, and they're about to commence pre-feasibility study on that project currently. So they're looking to mobilise drill rigs into our region. Next slide, please. So, it's a great opportunity for Juno to have this project in its portfolio. Having over $50 million spent on it, 100 kilometres of drilling, a lot of technical work has been done. But really, to take this project forward is we're going to look at an alternate metallurgical flow sheet, more along the lines of what FMG are doing with Iron Bridge. I do quite like that flow sheet. It gets away from the conventional flow sheets like we see in magnetite projects already within Western Australia. It uses a lot less water up front, more dry processing up front, and more efficient comminution methods with high pressure grinding rolls. So essentially it is a lower capital cost intensity and lower operating cost intensity. And if you can compare those capital costs against the previous projects that are being done for the amount of tonnes getting produced, you can easily see the much more efficient in the capital cost intensity. So really, to take this project forward is go out and secure our water supply, and that's by undertaking exploration on our current water licenses, but also doing some more metallurgical test work, drilling and pilot plant work to firm up an alternate flow sheet. And also we need to undertake further environmental surveys on this project to take it up to the expanded 2016 guidelines. So they've already had all their environmental surveys, but due to the changing conditions, they do need to be updated. So, but we will be focusing on getting our Mount Mason project up and running first, and then we'll look at starting to do work on our Mount Ida Magnetite project. Next slide, please. This was the conceptual plan that was done back in 2012 for the project. Obviously, we'd be looking at revising that somewhat, but probably not a lot of change in that. Next slide, please, Tim. So the high-grade magnetite, we see a lot of discounts getting applied to low-grade DSOs in the market these days. There's a lot of advantages to magnetite for smelters, a lower environmental footprint, plus it's attracting a premium price above DSO products these days. Next slide, please. Within our region, we've seen more, in Western Australia, a lot more metallurgical activity. FMG, they're currently constructing their 22 million tonne per annum magnetite project up in the Pilbara. That's going to get commissioned in early next year. They've also announced early this year is they're doing a year feasibility study on Sino-Steel's magnetite assets to acquire 50%, but also undertake 100% ownership of the Okajee infrastructure project. Mineral Resources have announced they're testing magnetite potential at Koolyanobbing. MacArthur Minerals, who are neighbours, have recently released a feasibility study on the Lake Joel project, and also Hancock Prospecting, who are now our neighbours, doing a pre-feasibility study on the Mount Bevan project. Next slide, please. So this shows a bit of a location where we're at. As I said, in the Yilgarn, quite clearly we are the largest magnetite project in the region and one of the most technically advanced. Legacy Hawthorn Hancock joint venture are our neighbours. Next slide, please. And this shows in comparison, just comparing the Yilgarn projects within the region. Next slide, please. So really, for an investment sense, in the market, our market cap, just in relation to our magnetite project, we are really undervalued compared to our neighbours and in the region. So for an investment proposition, the case is clearly there as we move this project forward. So that's been a really quick run through, a bit of a snapshot of where we're at, but finalising, we'll be, as I said, focusing on getting our Mount Mason DSO project up and running and targeting in the June quarter next year. Then once it's up and running, we'll look at doing all the other work to reconnect our Mount Ida Magnetite project. So thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Craig. Couple of questions. You've got POSCO on there as a shareholder. Are they a potential offtake partner for this?
They do have rights with 50% in offtake on the product. Yes, for sure. So,
yeah, good. It's a strategic shareholder there. And you spoke a lot about water. How do you obtain water rights? And from an environmental perspective, is that difficult to deal with?
No, it's not. You just apply, select the area where you think is most prospective for water, and you apply a water exploration license over it. So it's quite straightforward. Yeah. So
and plenty of water out there, I assume.
There is. We're on all our reviews and research on those areas. We dealt with a high-level hydrogeologist who did a lot of work in that region, and he recommended the areas that we peg to secure our water supply. And we did that back in 2011, 2012.
And you've obviously had a significant amount of money, 50 million spent on some of these projects. How do you prioritise moving forward?
Yeah, so all the geology, all the drilling's been done, the geotech's been done, so all the hydrogeology's been done, hydrology, all the technical work's been done. But as I said, what we need to do to take this project forward is to actually drill holes and do and make production bores to secure our water supply, and also to undertake the further metallurgical test work to firm up an alternate flow sheet, which is lower capital cost intense and lower operating cost intensity. So those are, so we get a lot of credit from all the work that's already been done, but there's still a fair bit of work to do to, obviously secure all the infrastructure requirements that we need to do, screw up our water and do all the metallurgical test work. But we're certainly in a great position at the status of where this project is at.
And just finally, Greg, just on a time frame, what's the timeline look like?
So for Mount Mason, we look to get in production in the June quarter next year. And I envisage it'll be another 2 years of work from there on the Mount Ida Magnetite project to take it through to a definitive feasibility study level. So there's really another 2 to 3 years work to be inputted into Mount Ida to take it to a DFS level.
Thanks, Craig. That's all we have time for. We'd love to follow up again later in the year. Good luck out there.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Tim.